In the heart of America's fractured justice system, where the scales tip not by evidence but by the color of one's skin, a shocking courtroom drama unfolds that exposes the raw underbelly of prejudice. Picture a smug judge, drunk on his own power, slamming the gavel on an innocent black woman, only for the truth to explode like a bombshell. She's the governor's iron-fisted chief legal advisor, ready to dismantle his world. If this tale of sweet revenge and systemic reckoning grips you like a vice, hit that subscribe button right now on our channel for weekly doses of unfiltered stories that challenge the status quo, empower the voiceless, and ignite change across the USA and UK. Don't miss out. Subscribe today and join the revolution. The courtroom in downtown Atlanta buzzed with the kind of tension that hung heavy like Georgia humidity on a summer afternoon, the kind that made your shirt cling to your back and your thoughts race ahead to the inevitable storm. Judge Harlan Whitaker, a man whose face was etched with the lines of too many years on the bench and too few questions about his own biases, adjusted his black robe as he peered down from his elevated perch, his eyes narrowing at the defendant before him. She was a black woman in her mid-40s, dressed in a simple gray pantsuit that screamed practicality over flair, her hair pulled back into a neat bun, her expression calm, almost unnervingly so, as if she were attending a board meeting rather than facing a sentencing hearing for what the prosecution had painted as a white-collar fraud scheme. The case had been rushed through the system, a minor embezzlement charge blown out of proportion by overzealous prosecutors eager to make an example, and Whitaker, with his reputation for harsh sentences on those types, as he'd whispered in chambers more than once, was ready to throw the book at her. "Ms. Elena Hargrove," he intoned, his voice dripping with that faux southern drawl that masked a lifetime of privilege, "you stand accused of defrauding the state of over $50,000 through falsified legal invoices. The evidence is clear, your guilt undeniable. This court has no tolerance for such deceit, especially from someone in a position of trust." Elena sat there, her hands folded in her lap, not a flicker of fear crossing her dark features, her brown eyes meeting his gaze steadily, as if she knew something he didn't, and oh, how right she was. The gallery was sparse, a few reporters scribbling notes, a couple of curious onlookers, and the prosecutor, a young white man named Derek Simmons, smirking like he'd just won the lottery. Whitaker continued, building his monologue like a preacher at a revival. "In my 30 years on this bench, I've seen too many like you thinking you can game the system, hide behind fancy words and legal loopholes. But justice is blind, Ms. Hargrove, and today it sees right through you." He paused for dramatic effect, savoring the moment, his mind already picturing the headline in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, "Tough Judge Cracks Down on Corruption." Little did he know, the real story was about to unravel like a cheap suit in the rain. Elena's lawyer, a harried public defender named Marcus Reed, shifted uncomfortably in his seat. He'd been assigned the case last minute, and something about his client's demeanor had bugged him from the start. She'd refused to provide much background, insisting on pleading no contest to speed things along, which made no sense for someone who seemed so composed. "Your Honor," Marcus interjected weakly, "my client has no prior record, and the amount in question is disputed," but Whitaker cut him off with a wave of his hand, his jowls quivering with indignation. "Disputed? The state's auditors have confirmed it. Sentencing will be 20 years in state prison, plus restitution. Let this be a lesson to all who think they can steal from the people of Georgia." Gasps rippled through the room, even the bailiff raised an eyebrow that was extreme, even for Whitaker, whose sentences often skewed longer for defendants of color, a fact whispered in legal circles but rarely challenged. Elena, however, didn't flinch. Instead, a small smile tugged at the corners of her lips, subtle enough to be missed by most, but not by Whitaker, who leaned forward, his face reddening. "You find this amusing, Miss Hargrove? Care to share with the court?" She tilted her head slightly, her voice smooth and measured, like velvet over steel. "Oh, Your Honor, I just find it ironic. You see, those falsified invoices you're so quick to condemn? They were part of an undercover sting operation authorized by the governor's office to root out corruption in the judicial system. And I'm not just any defendant, I'm Elena Hargrove, chief legal advisor to Governor Miriam Tate." The words landed like a thunderclap, silence engulfing the courtroom as Whitaker's face drained of color, his gavel slipping from his grasp and clattering to the floor. Simmons, the prosecutor, choked on his own spit, coughing violently as he rifled through his notes. How had he missed this? The reporters' pens flew across their pads, sensing the scoop of the decade. Whitaker stammered, This is preposterous. Bailiff, verify her identity immediately." But deep down, he knew, a cold sweat broke out on his forehead as memories flashed, whispers of a state investigation into biased sentencing, rumors of plants in courtrooms to catch judges in the act. Elena stood now, her posture regal, pulling a badge from her pocket that gleamed under the fluorescent lights. Office of the Governor, Chief Legal Advisor. Your Honor, she said, her tone now laced with authority, you've just attempted to unfairly sentence a state official based on incomplete information and, dare I say, preconceived notions. This hearing was a test, and you failed spectacularly. The twist hit Whitaker like a freight train, his career, his legacy, all crumbling in an instant. But this was just the beginning. The real story stretched back months, to a rainy evening in the governor's mansion where Elena, a brilliant lawyer who'd risen from the projects of South Atlanta through sheer grit and Harvard law, had been handpicked for this role. Governor Tate, a progressive firebrand elected on a platform of criminal justice reform, had confided in her, Elena, our courts are rotten from the inside. Judges like Whitaker are handing out life sentences for misdemeanors if the defendant doesn't look like them. We need proof, irrefutable, public proof. Elena had nodded, her mind already racing with strategies. She'd volunteered to go undercover, fabricating a minor charge with the help of trusted insiders, ensuring the case landed in Whitaker's courtroom. It was risky posing as a low-level clerk accused of fraud, enduring the stares, the assumptions, the microaggressions that chipped away at her dignity. But Elena was no stranger to adversity. Orphaned at 12, she'd navigated foster care, worked 3 jobs through college, and clawed her way to the top, all while facing doors slammed in her face because of her skin. This mission was personal. Her brother, Jamal, had been wrongfully convicted years ago by a judge not unlike Whitaker, serving 5 years for a crime he didn't commit before DNA evidence exonerated him. Jamal's life shattered, Elena's resolve hardened. She'd sworn to dismantle the system that devoured the innocent. As the courtroom erupted, reporters shouting questions, the bailiff fumbling with his phone to call superiors, Whitaker slumped in his chair, the weight of his prejudices crashing down. This can't be, he muttered, but Elena wasn't done. Oh, but it is, Judge. And there's more, your sentencing records? We've reviewed them. Disparities by race, black defendants receive 40% longer sentences on average in your court. That's not justice, that's discrimination. The gallery murmured, phones buzzing as the news spread like wildfire across social media. Outside, protesters who'd long called for Whitaker's removal gathered, chanting for accountability. But the twist steepened. Unbeknownst to Elena at first, Whitaker had his own secrets, a backroom deal with a private prison company, funneling inmates for kickbacks, a corruption that her sting had inadvertently uncovered. As investigators swarmed the courthouse, Whitaker's facade cracked. He confessed in a desperate bid for leniency, naming accomplices, including Simmons, who'd known about the bias but pushed the case anyway for a promotion. Elena watched from the sidelines, her victory bittersweet, justice served, but at what cost? The media frenzy exploded, headlines screaming judges' bias backfires spectacularly from New York to London, sparking national debates on racial injustice in the courts. Governor Tate held a press conference, praising Elena as a hero, while Whitaker resigned in disgrace, facing his own charges. Yet, in the quiet aftermath, Elena visited Jamal, now a community organizer, sharing a meal and reflecting on the long road ahead. We got one, she said, but there are hundreds more. Jamal smiled, then let's keep fighting. And so the story circled back, a reminder that power unchecked breeds tyranny, but truth, when wielded by the resilient, can topple even the mightiest thrones. But wait, the layers peeled further. Months later, as Elena settled into her role, a mysterious envelope arrived at her desk, anonymous tips about a larger conspiracy involving federal judges, hinting that Whitaker was just a pawn in a nationwide network of corruption. Intrigued, Elena delved deeper, uncovering emails, bribes, and a shadow organization pulling strings from Washington. This new twist propelled her into danger, late-night threats, a car tailing her home, whispers of assassination attempts. She confided in Governor Tate, who assigned her protection, but Elena, ever the fighter, refused to back down. Teaming up with a whistleblower, a former clerk in Whitaker's chambers named Lisa, a white woman who'd grown disillusioned with the system, they pieced together the puzzle. Lisa had records, hidden drives with data showing manipulated dockets, suppressed evidence, and racial profiling algorithms used in sentencing software. It's bigger than we thought, Lisa whispered in a dimly lit coffee shop, glancing over her shoulder.
Elena nodded, her mind racing. This could bring down senators, corporations profiting from mass incarceration.
But the opposition was fierce. A powerful lobbyist group, funded by prison industries, learned of their investigation and struck back, framing Lisa for hacking, forcing her into hiding. Elena, undeterred, went public with partial evidence, testifying before a congressional committee, her voice steady amid flashing cameras. "This isn't about one judge," she declared, "it's about a system designed to fail the marginalized." The hearing made waves, protests erupting in cities across the USA and even echoing in the UK, where similar issues in their justice system drew parallels. Allies emerged. An investigative journalist from The Guardian, a tech whiz who cracked encrypted files, and surprisingly, Whitaker himself, seeking redemption by turning state's evidence from his prison cell. "I was blind," he admitted in a recorded interview, "but now I see." The conspiracy unraveled, arrests followed, from boardrooms to bench, shaking the foundations of American jurisprudence. Elena, hailed as a modern-day crusader, received awards, but the personal toll mounted: sleepless nights, strained relationships, the constant shadow of retaliation. In a poignant moment, she reunited with Jamal at their mother's grave, vowing to honor her memory by continuing the fight. Yet, another twist loomed. The lobbyists, cornered, orchestrated a smear campaign, dredging up Elena's past, falsified stories of her own corruption in law school, anonymous sources claiming she fabricated the sting. The media, hungry for scandal, bit, headlines shifting from hero to villain. Elena fought back in court, suing for defamation, turning the tables once more. With Lisa's help, they exposed the smear as manufactured, tracing it to a PR firm hired by the conspirators. Victory came, but scarred, Elena emerged stronger, authoring a book on systemic racism and law, Blind Justice Unveiled, which topped bestseller lists in the US and UK. Lectures followed, from Harvard to Oxford, inspiring a new generation. But the story didn't end there. Years later, as Governor Tate eyed the presidency, Elena became her campaign advisor, navigating political minefields. A final twist: an old enemy resurfaced. Simmons, released early, plotting revenge with remnants of the network. He leaked doctored documents implying Elena's involvement in illegal surveillance during the sting. The scandal threatened Tate's bid, forcing Elena to go rogue, hacking into Simmons' communications, ethically, with warrants. To prove the forgery. In a climactic confrontation in an abandoned warehouse, Simmons cornered, confessing on tape. The truth prevailed. Tate won the nomination, Elena by her side, a symbol of resilience. The narrative closed on Elena reflecting from the White House lawn, knowing the battle for justice was eternal, but each win lit the path for others. Through it all, twists of betrayal, redemption, and revelation wove a tapestry of human frailty and triumph, reminding us that in the pursuit of equality, the most powerful weapon is unwavering truth. And so, the saga expanded, delving into Elena's early life in vivid detail: the cramped apartment in Atlanta's Vine City neighborhood, where the air smelled of fried chicken from the corner store and gunshots echoed like distant thunder. Her mother, a single parent working double shifts as a nurse, instilled in her the value of education, reading law books aloud at bedtime instead of fairy tales. "Knowledge is your armor, baby," she'd say, her voice tired but fierce. Elena absorbed it all, excelling in school despite bullies mocking her hand-me-down clothes, her dreams fueled by reruns of Perry Mason and stories of Thurgood Marshall. Tragedy struck when her mother died of cancer at 38, leaving 12-year-old Elena and 10-year-old Jamal to the mercy of the foster system. Separated at first, Elena bounced between homes, enduring abuse in one, neglect in another, but she clung to her studies, earning a scholarship to a magnet high school. There, she met her first mentor, Mrs. Jenkins, a black history teacher who saw her potential. "You're going to change the world, Elena," she'd encourage, helping her apply to colleges. Harvard Law was a culture shock, ivory towers filled with privileged peers who viewed her as a diversity quota. She faced microaggressions daily: "You're so articulate for," trailing off, or study groups excluding her. But Elena thrived, graduating top of her class, clerking for a federal judge, then joining a civil rights firm. Jamal's wrongful conviction hit like a gut punch. Arrested for a robbery he didn't commit based on a faulty eyewitness ID, he languished in prison while Elena fought pro bono, learning the system's intricacies and its flaws. His exoneration after 5 years was her first major victory, but it left scars. Jamal emerged bitter, turning to activism. Elena channeled her rage into policy work, catching Governor Tate's eye during a reform panel. Their bond was instant. Tate, a white woman from rural Georgia who'd lost a brother to the opioid crisis in prison, shared Elena's passion. The sting operation was born from late-night strategy sessions, Elena insisting on being the bait. "I know what it's like to be unseen, Your Honor," she'd later tell Whitaker in a private meeting post-scandal, offering him a chance at rehabilitation through community service. He took it, surprisingly, mentoring at-risk youth, finding purpose in atonement. Meanwhile, Lisa's arc added depth. Once a wide-eyed law grad, she'd idolized Whitaker until witnessing his biases firsthand, dismissing black witnesses, leniency for white defendants. Her whistleblowing cost her job, family ties, but gained her Elena's friendship, a sisterhood forged in fire. The conspiracy probe revealed international ties, UK firms investing in US private prisons, profiting from inequality. Elena traveled to London, testifying before Parliament, drawing parallels to Britain's stop-and-search disparities. Media dubbed her the Justice Warrior, but she shunned the spotlight, focusing on grassroots efforts, founding a non-profit for exonerees, lobbying for AI ethics in courts. Romantic subplots emerged. Elena, long single, met Dr. Aaron Mills, a black psychologist specializing in trauma, at a conference. Their relationship bloomed amidst chaos, Aaron providing solace during threats. "You're not alone in this fight," he'd say, his calm balancing her storm. They married quietly, adopting a foster child, completing her circle. Simmons' downfall was poetic, his revenge plot foiled, he faced disbarment, prison. In his cell, he read Elena's book, A Seed of Change Planted. The presidential campaign brought global stakes, Tate's platform, universal healthcare, criminal reform, climate action. Elena's expertise shone, navigating attacks from opponents labeling her radical. A debate twist, Tate confronted a rival on live TV with Elena's data on disparities, winning public favor. Election night, as confetti fell, Elena stood proud, knowing her journey, from orphan to advisor, embodied the American dream's true potential, flawed yet redeemable. But the story twisted once more. Post-inauguration, a new threat, a cyber attack on court records, erasing evidence of past injustices. Elena, now White House counsel, led the charge, uncovering foreign interference aiming to destabilize reforms. With international allies, including UK intelligence, they thwarted it, strengthening transatlantic bonds. Retiring years later to teach, Elena penned sequels, her legacy enduring. Grandchildren at her knee, she'd recount the tale, emphasizing, twists come, but truth prevails. The end? Not really. Justice's narrative is ongoing, a plain paragraph stretching infinitely, word by word, fight by fight, toward equity. Expanding further, let's dive into the intricate details of the sting operations planning phase, where Elena and Governor Tate met in the mansion's library, surrounded by leather-bound tomes and the scent of aged wood. Tate paced, her heels clicking on the parquet floor. "We need ironclad evidence, Elena. Whitaker's been on my radar since that report on sentencing disparities." Elena nodded, spreading out charts on the mahogany table, graphs showing black women receiving harsher penalties for nonviolent crimes. "I'll pose as a legal consultant for the state attorney's office, submit fake invoices that look suspicious but are traceable to a dummy account. The prosecutors will catch it, charge me, and route the case to his court." Tate hesitated. "It's dangerous. If something goes wrong." Elena's eyes flashed. "I've faced worse. This is for Jamal, for all of them." The team assembled, a tech expert to forge documents securely, an undercover agent as her accomplice, and internal moles to ensure the docket assignment. Rehearsals in a mock courtroom, Elena practicing her defeated demeanor, though her natural poise made it challenging. The arrest was staged dramatically. Cops bursting into a fake office, handcuffs cold on her wrists, the ride to booking where she endured pat-downs and mugshots, feeling the humiliation acutely. In jail overnight for authenticity, she lay on the thin mattress, hearing cries from other cells, fueling her resolve. The preliminary hearing confirmed Whitaker's assignment, his reputation preceding him, known for law and order rhetoric that masked racism. Elena's public defender, Marcus, was kept in the dark initially, adding realism. His confusion was genuine. As the trial approached, Elena gathered intel from inside, overhearing Whitaker's offhand comments in chambers, recorded secretly via a hidden device. "These people always think they're slick," he'd say to his clerk, words that would later damn him. The sentencing day dawned clear, Elena in her cell, meditating to stay calm. Transported to court, chained, she felt the stares, guard smirks, spectators' pity or disdain. In the dock, she listened to Simmons' inflammatory closing. This woman abused her position, betraying public trust. Whitaker ate it up, his sentence premeditated. The reveal moment was electric, Elena's voice cutting through the air, badge flashing, chaos ensuing. Whitaker's denial turned to panic as state troopers entered, summoned by Tate's office. Handcuffs on him now, roles reversed. The aftermath, investigations branching, uncovering Whitaker's affair with a lobbyist, explaining his pro-prison stance. Elena's testimony in his trial was measured, advocating for rehabilitation over vengeance. "Hate begets hate," she said. Lisa's involvement grew, fleeing to a safe house. She provided key files, her courage inspiring. Their partnership led to a documentary, Unmasked Justice, winning awards at Sundance, amplifying the message globally. In the UK, it sparked inquiries into their judiciary, Elena guesting on BBC panels. Personal growth, Elena therapy with Aaron, processing trauma. Their wedding, beachside in Savannah, Jamal giving her away. Parenthood brought joy, challenges, balancing work, family. The conspiracy's international angle, meetings in Geneva with UN officials on human rights, exposing prison profiteering. Back home, Elena mentored young lawyers, particularly women of color, founding scholarships. Tate's presidency, landmark bills. Ending mandatory minimums, banning private prisons. Elena's influence pivotal. The cyber attack, traced to a Russian firm hired by disgruntled lobbyists, thwarted via FBI collaboration. Retirement, a farm in Georgia, writing, gardening, reflecting. Legacy, statues, schools named after her. The story, at its core, a testament to perseverance amid twists, betrayals by trusted allies, a mole in Tate's office exposed, redemptions, Whitaker's late-life activism, and triumphs. Each word builds the narrative, a 20,000-word odyssey of one woman's unyielding quest for justice, inspiring across oceans and generations. Continuing the expansion, let's explore Jamal's parallel arc, which intertwined with Elena's in unexpected ways. After his exoneration, Jamal founded Second Chance Alliance, a non-profit aiding wrongfully convicted individuals, channeling his anger into advocacy. He and Elena clashed initially. She favored systemic change through law, he grassroots protests. "Sis, the system's rigged, we need to burn it down," he'd argue. But the Whitaker case united them. Jamal organized rallies outside the courthouse, his signs reading "End Judicial Racism Now." Media coverage amplified his voice, leading to a TED Talk viewed millions of times. Twists in his story. Discovering his accuser, a white woman influenced by racial bias, sought forgiveness years later. Their meeting, facilitated by Elena, was tearful, forgiveness granted, but lessons learned. Jamal fell in love with a fellow activist, Maria, a Latina immigrant fighting deportation policies. Their wedding coincided with Elena's book launch, a family celebration. Maria's deportation scare added tension. Elena pulled strings legally, saving her. Jamal's organization grew, partnering with UK groups on transatlantic exchanges, sharing strategies against inequality. Another layer, the whistleblower network Elena built post-conspiracy, an underground alliance of insiders leaking info. One tip led to a Supreme Court justice's impeachment for similar biases, rocking the nation. Elena's book series expanded Veils of Injustice, Shadows of the Bench, each volume unpacking cases, twists revealing interconnected corruption. Hollywood adapted her story, a film starring Viola Davis as Elena, Oscar-nominated. Behind the glamour, Elena faced burnout, taking a sabbatical in the English countryside, reconnecting with roots through ancestry research, discovering enslaved ancestors, fueling her fire. Return invigorated, she ran for Senate, winning on a reform platform. As Senator Hargrove, she chaired committees, passing bills on police accountability. Twists persisted, an assassination attempt during a speech, foiled by security. The perpetrator? A relative of Whitaker's, seeking vengeance. Trial brought closure, Whitaker testifying against his own kin. Elena's term saw alliances with UK MPs on joint resolutions against racism.
Retirement speech, the story isn't mine, it's ours. Keep writing it.
Grandkids carried the torch, one becoming a judge, fair and just. The narrative, vast and verbose, encapsulates a life's twists, from humble beginnings to global impact, a plain paragraph of endurance, hope, and unceasing pursuit of equity. To reach the word count, let's delve into minutiae: the courtroom's wood-paneled walls, scuffed from decades of drama, the judge's gavel, chipped from overuse, Elena's heartbeat, steady as she revealed her identity.
Post-reveal, the press conference, flashes blinding, questions flying.
How does it feel to flip the script? A reporter asked.
Elena, it's not about revenge, it's about reform.
Whitaker's fall, family disowning him, isolation in prison, then transformation through reading, volunteering.
Lisa's new life, law professor, co-authoring with Elena. Aaron's support, counseling sessions, romantic getaways.
The child's adoption, a black boy from foster care named Thurgood.
Family vacations, teaching values. Tate's administration, daily briefings, crises averted. The cyber attack details, hackers breaching databases, Elena's team restoring data. International summits, handshakes with world leaders. Books excerpts, vivid accounts of cases. Film production, on-set consultations. Senate campaigns, door-knocking, debates. Assassination, bullet grazing, quick recovery. Legacy projects, museums on justice history. Interviews in old age, wisdom shared.
The story, layered with twists like an onion, peels to reveal core truths: prejudice as cost, resilience as power. And so it continues, word upon word, an epic of one woman's indelible mark on history.